This is certainly a surprise. How have you been?
I'm well, Godfrey. And yourself?
The past few years have been good to me. Would you have a loaf of bread?
I would have a favor of you, Godfrey, if I may be so bold after all this time.
Name it.
See that this reaches Captain James Wallace aboard the HMS Rose.
Captain Wallace? But he's a British naval officer. What business would you have?
My business needn't concern you, Godfrey. Can you do as I ask?
This is most irregular.
Please.
I will do what I can.
I thank you, Mr. Winwood. Good day.
Welcome to Colonial Williamsburg. I'm Annabelle Ombach. Today, you're going to learn a little bit about spying during the Revolution, or as they called it during the 18th century, being in the General Secret Service.
I'm Corey Foley. Spying has always been a part of war. Without it, how else could you know your enemy's strength and position before it was too late? A successful war campaign is not about overpowering strength. It's about using successful intelligence gathering to know when and how to use that strength.
The stories that you'll see are about how spies went about their business, sometimes in the open, but mostly behind closed doors.
You'll also see a few of the 18th century techniques used by spies and decoders of spy messages. While it isn't James Bond or Mission Impossible here, it was high tech for its day.
Whom do you believe? Who do you trust? How far can you plan ahead on the information you have? And is it reliable?
Being in the General Secret Service means intelligence and counterintelligence, spy and counterspy, agent and double agent.
It's much like a game of chess.
Check. And mate.
I am no match for you, General Washington.
Your strategies improve with each engagement, Lieutenant Simon. Do not be so harsh on yourself.
You seem to anticipate every move I make, sir.
Well, the past 6 years have taught me well the necessity of calculating and anticipating the enemy.
Well, I am uncomfortable being seen as the enemy, sir.
Don't take it personally, Lieutenant Simon. Shall we begin another match?
I am honored to be your opponent, sir. As long as it doesn't brand me your enemy.
I meant no offense, Lieutenant. Yet war is a curious circumstance. Even those closest to you may prove to be the enemy by and by. You can trust no one.
I don't understand, General.
Unlike chess, where your enemy is known to you, in war he may be in disguise, his move invisible. You must engage with him as though blindfolded. Let me show you something. When this letter first came to my attention, I did not know what to make of it. A baker, Mr. Winwood, delivered it to me. He claimed a woman of his acquaintance had given it to him.
Well, sir, I can't make it out.
Exactly, Lieutenant Simon. It was meant to deceive. Of course, I was desirous of speaking with the woman who had given it to him.
General Washington, this is the woman you wish to speak with. I regret to inform you that we have had no success in gaining any information from her. She refuses to cooperate.
It will be in your best interest to reveal the author of this letter. I am willing to accept that you may be merely a pawn in all of this, but only if you take this opportunity to tell me what I need to know. Madam, I know not your understanding of these matters, but the rights of these American colonies has been threatened. Blood has been shed at Lexington and at Concord. Women and children have been widowed, madam. We are, in effect, at war. This letter has proven to be a communique to our enemies, containing intelligences which would cost the lives of many men whose only aim was to secure and protect their God-given rights. and liberties. Will you have this burden on your shoulders? Who wrote the letter?
Dr. Benjamin Church.
Dr. Benjamin Church? How can that be? Was he not Surgeon General of the Continental Army, a renowned patriot?
He was a traitor, and this was the proof.
Good morning, sir. We've broken the code, sir.
In truth?
In truth, sir. Porter is decoding the message now. We found no evidence of any invisible ink. We therefore proceeded to examine the letter as an alphabetical puzzle. A simple substitution of numbers for letters is at the heart of this code, sir.
Go on.
Cupid. Cupid, sir.
Cupid?
If I may, sir. Our first clue was that only 26 numbers appear. This suggested that they represented the letters of the alphabet. We were then left with finding the key. Further discovery showed that it was a word key, and the word is Cupid. See here. The letters of the word Cupid appear at the tops of columns of letters, which are written in alphabetical succession, beginning with the key letter. C, D, E, and so on, until you reach C again. U, V, W, and so on. All 26 letters are represented in each column. Each row of 5 letters is then given a line number. To write your secret message, you simply find the letter that you need in the first column under C, and the corresponding line number is written as your code. The second letter is found under U, and so on until you reach D. Once you've gotten to D, you come back to C. It's amazingly simple, really.
Once the secret code was broken, we found that the letter contained a full report on the strength of the Continental Army, in addition to information regarding the availability of arms and munitions to the Army. Such information in the hands of the enemy could prove devastating.
I do recall rumors, innuendos, that Dr. Church's loyalties were divided. But, sir, he wrote with the conviction of a true son of liberty, and he spoke publicly about his commitment to the American cause. Was he not a member of the Massachusetts Congress and the Committee of Safety?
He was. He styled himself a true patriot. But in the end, for want of money, he betrayed his country. As we were soon to learn, Benjamin Church had been for some time in the direct employ of General Thomas Gage, the British commander-in-chief and governor of Massachusetts. In April of 1775, when Gage sent British troops to seize the gunpowder and munitions in storehouses at Concord and Lexington, he was acting on information given to him by Benjamin Church. The extent of Church's betrayal is difficult to comprehend. He was privy to the most secret information regarding the Continental Army, information which he regularly handed over to the enemy in exchange for money. Of course, once apprehended, he pled innocence.
I maintain that my intentions in communicating with General Gage were in keeping with my professed desire to prevent any further bloodshed. Yes, I did tell him. Yes, I warned him of the strength of the American forces in hope that he would choose diplomacy over force. I believed that there was yet room for reason in this matter. That I accepted payment from him, well, that was simply to win over his trust, to assure that he would accept my advice. And my advice was not to engage these colonies in a civil war. For that, I am condemned, and for that, I am branded traitor.
What became of him, sir?
You see, although the regulations of the Continental Army allowed for the court-martial of any communicating with the enemy, the punishment did not match the crime. It was, in effect, a mere slap on the wrist. Congress at last allowed the church be imprisoned under hardship conditions, but after a term of only 5 years, he was released and deported to the West Indies. He was never heard from again. But he was not forgotten. Congress acted quickly to see that future acts of espionage be met with a more fitting punishment. Resolved that all persons who shall be found lurking as spies in or about the fortifications or encampments of the armies of the United States shall suffer death according to the law of the nations. Now the punishment would fit the crime. "'Tis your move, Lieutenant."
Yes, sir. Sir, if spying is such a crime as you propose, then why did the Continental Congress create secret committees for that very purpose?
First, you must recognize the distinction between being a spy and being a traitor.
Of course.
Church is reviled because he turned against his own country for profit.
As did Benedict Arnold.
Yes, Arnold. An excellent example of the difference between a traitor and a spy.
How so, sir?
As you know, when Arnold served as a general in the Continental Army, it was his design to sell West Point to the enemy in exchange for money and position. West Point was a strategic fortification on the Hudson River, vital to the Americans' forces. And yet, Arnold proposed to the British that West Point could be theirs for the right price. Ultimately, his plan failed.
It is clear that Arnold is the traitor, sir, but the spy.
The spy. Arnold's primary contact with the British was Major John Andre, the assistant to the British Commander-in-Chief, Sir Henry Clinton. Employing a variety of complicated codes and ciphers, Andre and Arnold engaged in a secret correspondence that lasted many months.
Who is he?
It is Major Andre, is it not, Charles?
Yes, Major John Andre.
He plays delightfully, doesn't he?
He's most accomplished, speaks 4 languages, and is an actor of sorts.
Writes poetry as well, I hear.
Do introduce us, Charles.
Andre was as accomplished socially as he was militarily. He was a gentleman, regardless of the situation. It was engaging to be in his company, and he was well liked by all that met him. He often went out of his way to make others feel at ease.
Sir, you must forgive me, but I've quite forgot your name, though I have recollection of having made your acquaintance this past spring. I am John Andre, sir.
You do me honor, sir. Charles Collins, my good wife Eliza, along with Mr. and Mrs. Waters.
You play the flute with much feeling, Mr. Andre.
'Tis Major Andre, my dear.
Of course. I do apologize.
Think nothing of it, madam. Your compliments are most welcome. Music is my passion, and I am gratified when others find pleasure in my playing.
Come, John, there's a clamour in the passage for you and your flute.
It is the flute alone they clamour for, I'll be bound. By your leave, ladies. Mr. Waters, Mr. Collins.
John Andre was an adversary you were forced to respect and admire. He was a gentleman, and yet his fate was pitiable.
How so, sir?
On the night of September 21st, 1780, during a secret meeting in American territory, Benedict Arnold gave Andre some important documents to be delivered to Sir Henry Clinton. That night, Andre stayed at the home of Joshua Hett Smith, a Loyalist collaborator, with the intention of returning to British territory aboard the ship Vulture. But Vulture never made the rendezvous. Andre found himself stranded in American-held territory. His only way out was to cross overland. Fearing his British uniform was too dangerous, Andre changed into civilian clothes, hiding the documents he had received from Benedict Arnold in his boot. It would prove to be a fatal mistake. That your enemy will try to learn your secrets is an accepted part of warfare. But a person is only considered a spy if they attempt to obtain information under false pretenses. Had Andre worn his British uniform as he traveled through American territory, he would have been in danger of being captured and held as a prisoner of war. But by changing his clothes, he attempted to change his identity. He attempted to deceive.
I wish I could encounter but one of them, and bounty or no, I'd show him the error of his ways.
I wouldn't expect any of them to venture in this direction. We should hunt further south. What's here that could possibly interest them?
Who's to say? There is a war on. Maybe some little spot of ground hereabouts they got their eyes on.
Let them try to take a little spot of our hard-won ground. I'll have them reconsidering their loyalties in no time.
Pull him by the nose, will ye, lad?
Hold. Look there. Who is that?
No one from these parts. I've seen neither him nor his horse in Terrytown. Perhaps he's our spy.
We may have a reward for the day's labors after all.
Let us see if the gentleman is in need of an escort. Hold there, sir. We would have a word with you.
Indeed, sir.
What is your purpose abroad, sir?
I've been on business. I'm making my way home.
To Terrytown?
Beyond.
Would you dismount, sir?
For what purpose?
His Majesty's pleasure, sir. Might I inquire where your loyalties lie, Mr.
Anderson?
Mr. Anderson. You are a loyal subject of the Crown?
I am.
It would seem we have an enemy to liberty before us.
You are not loyalists?
Hardly, Mr. Anderson.
Oh, you did give me a fright, sir. I mistook you for British sympathizers.
And what is this?
It is a pass which I feared would serve me ill were you loyalists, as I first suspected. It is signed by General Arnold himself, as you see.
And so now you are an American and a friend to General Arnold. Search him. This is West Point. How did you come by these documents, Anderson? Did you steal them?
I did not, sir.
We shall see. Tie him.
What became of him, sir?
Upon his capture, I summoned a board of generals to determine as speedily as possible his guilt or innocence. It quickly became apparent that Andre had been engaged in secret communication with Arnold for some time.
Were the documents Andre carried in code, sir?
They were not, although Andre and Arnold did employ code in their correspondence. It is surprising the number and variety of templates and ciphers that are in existence.
What is a template, General Washington?
A template is a particularly challenging device. Without the use of invisible writing or ciphers, a message is contained in plain view within a seemingly innocent piece of correspondence. The secret communique is revealed only when the template is placed over the letter. A cipher is when letters, symbols, or numbers are used to represent words. In order to decode a cipher, both the sender and receiver must have the same key to know what the symbols and numbers represent. In their correspondence, Andre and Arnold often employed a cipher whose key was a book. When composing a letter, Andre would find the word he wanted, but instead of writing the word, he wrote down the page number, the line number, and the number of the word, counting over from the left. Andre denied nothing. He presented himself as a gentleman at all times and bore his responsibility admirably. He readily confessed when questioned that he had concealed the papers from Benedict Arnold in his boot and that he traveled behind American lines in disguise and under a false name. By point of law, the verdict could be no other. Major John Andre was judged a spy and sentenced to hang.
It doesn't seem fair, sir. I mean, not that Andre was punished, but that he was punished so severely, and yet Benedict Arnold escaped. When it was Arnold who was the traitor, and Major Andre, though the enemy, was acting in his country's best interest. He betrayed no one, and yet he was hanged.
By the letter of the law, John Andre was a spy, and his punishment was just. And by other measures, Alexander Hamilton wrote of Andre, "Never did a man suffer death with more justice or deserve it less." Your increasing ability to outmaneuver makes me suspect you have a spy of your own, Lieutenant Simon.
Tis only luck, sir.
Luck does not play a role in chess, Lieutenant. Neither do spies, I concede. Although having intimate knowledge of the enemy's intentions and capabilities is of inestimable value. General Cornwallis himself could testify to that.
Oh, really?
Indeed. The trouble is, Lieutenant Simon, you never can tell whom to trust. The very heart of espionage is, after all, deception. When dealing with an enemy, there is but one evil we have to dread, and that is their spies.
If anyone had a mind to, they could rout the entire regiment with only the slightest resistance.
You don't say so.
Oh, indeed I do, sir. Oh, the General is well aware of the situation. I do not believe that I speak out of turn, sir. Not to such loyal friends as yourselves.
The General can rest assured of Mr. Roundtree's loyalties, Colonel Abercrombie. I can attest to that.
What are their loyalties in need of questioning? Mr. Roundtree.
I can assure you, sir, there are none. Not in my regard, by any measure.
Nor in mine, General Cornwallis. I pledge my allegiance to king and country. Hear, hear.
Even General Cornwallis, Commander-in-Chief of His Majesty's armies, must be wary. For even in a close circle of intimates, there may be an American undercover. That is, playing a role in order to be accepted into the circle and given access to valuable information. It could be anyone. As long as absolute secrecy is maintained, it is impossible to know.
The hour is late, gentlemen. I must bid you all good night. James, linger a moment, man. I wish to have a word with you.
Yes, sir, Master Cornwallis.
No more of this master business, James. I do not own you. But I believe that you own an allegiance to His Majesty. Is that not right?
Sir, that you have been willing to take in a runaway slave and that you act for His Majesty? Yes, sir. I would say I own an allegiance, sir. 'Tis strong and significant. My allegiance, sir.
It is as I thought. I would ask of you a favor for His Majesty.
Anything, sir.
We have need of a man to gain entry into the American camps. If you were to present yourself in service to General Washington or General Lafayette, you could gain much information that would further our cause here in America.
What could I do, sir? I'm a runaway slave, nothing more.
You have an amiable manner, James. Your service here has been exemplary. Wait on them like you do here. Listen to their discourse. Learn their secrets by being unobtrusive, and report to me what you discover.
I don't know, sir.
James, I am confident that you will rise to this challenge for your country. I cannot tell you how I know, but I believe that you might be the perfect spy.
Indeed, sir. Me nothing but a runaway slave. Who would ever suspect?
It was clever, sir, to make a slave a spy. Who would suspect?
Not even General Cornwallis himself. You see, even as James Armistead was sent to spy in the camp of General Lafayette, he had been sent by Lafayette himself to spy in the camp of General Cornwallis.
Espionage and counter-espionage.
The intelligence that Armistead shared with the British may actually have won the war for the Americans. For just as the knight moves in an L pattern, the bishop in a diagonal, the spy's movements deceive. 'Tis their nature. Checkmate.
I am informed that that is why we are here and not in Charleston.
James Armistead was not a runaway slave when he presented himself to General Lafayette in 1781. But he was indeed a slave. And he had gone to great lengths to secure permission from his master, William Armistead, to join Lafayette and offer his services. General Lafayette was quick to note James's intelligence and understanding of the American cause.
I do not question James's
He sent James first into the camp of Benedict Arnold, who now led one of the two British armies in Richmond, Virginia. When Arnold returned to the war in the North, James went to the camp of Lord Cornwallis, where he quickly became a trusted servant. Risking his life, James passed on what he overheard while waiting on Cornwallis to other trusted slaves who passed the information back to Lafayette.
The map, sir. If the rebels were to seal off the mouth of this river as it enters into the
Seal off the river? The Americans? With what?
I only mean to suggest, sir.
But suddenly the game has changed. James is asked, in effect, to be a double agent. His allegiance, his loyalty, remains with the Americans. But he must now give Cornwallis information that shows his trustworthiness.
Without our full complement, we are vulnerable.
General Clinton has assured me that we will have as large a force as we deem necessary to maintain our holdings. And consider, gentlemen, the major engagement will be far north of us. I assure you, you have little to fear.
Deception is at the heart of all espionage. To spy, you must deceive. And there's more. When confronted with an ally such as James Armistead, who was firmly entrenched in the enemy camp, the information you impart must serve your purpose. What I mean is, if you give information to the enemy and they act upon it, you can grant yourself a great advantage. I have allowed many fabricated documents to fall by chance into the hands of the British, forged papers, false purchases, even the erection of false military facilities. If I could make the enemy believe that my 3,000-man army was 10,000 strong, it was worth every lie, believe me.
It is of the utmost importance.
When James Armistead revealed himself to Lafayette as a double agent, the stage was set.
Depend on me, sir.
All James needed to do was to convince Cornwallis that the arrival of a large number of replacement troops for the Continental forces was imminent. James played his part well. The fabricated orders were muddied and torn. James's story of finding them on a path traveled by Lafayette himself, and his description of hiding the document until it could be delivered to Cornwallis, served to convince the general of the legitimacy of the document. James Armistead's service as a master spy at this critical juncture helped to secure American victory in the war against Britain. After the British surrender at Yorktown, Cornwallis had occasion to be at the headquarters of General Lafayette.
I am hopeful you have been comfortably accommodated, General.
The arrangements have been sufficient.
I believe we are in order then. My only regret is that we must meet under such difficult circumstances.
Yes.
Ah, yes, James. I believe you are well acquainted with General Cornwallis.
Sir?
A perfect spy.
Yes, sir.